I'm Anne-Sophie, and my title is Head of LEGO Ways of Working. So under this title is 3 different pillars that I'm fortunate enough to be working on together with a wonderful group of people. So we look into our ways of working. That is our hybrid work model. It's how we envision travel in the future, our meeting culture, etc. Everything that's related to our activities at work. It's also our workplace experiences. So this is really related to our space. So how is it that we can show our culture as an organization in our space, and how can we underline the role of the office for our colleagues when they come in? So in that sense, very connected to how we work. Then the last pillar is our workplace capacity plans and our office footprint. So that is, one thing is what our space looks like. Another thing is actually who's there, how many people do we envision to become, and do we actually have the facilities available? Connecting it also to our strategic growth. So that's me.
At work, at least. So
at work,
yeah. My name is Kent. I'm head of reward and employee and workplace experience, which includes the LWOW team. And then you could call it traditional reward elements of pensions, bonus salaries, and all kinds of value proposition that we offer employees to come and work for the LEGO Group.
And your roles have probably changed with the pandemic. You mentioned hybrid, you mentioned ways of working. Today they are a central element of the conversation. We don't know if they were so central before. Maybe they were happening without real intention. How did you see your roles playing out and having an impact on the pandemic and the return to the office?
So I started in 2019 in a team at the time based in our corporate facilities, looking into combining knowledge on social behavior with knowledge on design and space. One of our big projects was the LEGO Campus, where we are currently. And my role was to look into behavior at work, but in the physical workspace. Obviously, 6 months later, very hard to study this because of the COVID pandemic. So my role then moved more into looking into learnings from working from home and how that would influence our view on work, and that then led to our hybrid work model.
And it's really amazing to see that you at the LEGO Group are now at the forefront of that change, moving into the people team and understanding like how the walls impact how we behave against one another. Do you find yourself having to communicate internally what your mission is? Like, how do you explain to someone, I'm leading ways of working? Would someone come and say, oh, can you tell me how I should work here at the LEGO Group? How do you find people understanding your role?
I think the pandemic forced us to have an attitude or a direction globally. Yeah. So that's not unique to the LEGO Group. Many companies had to have that, and we decided to have a global approach. So we communicated that under what we call the best of both, and hence came Anne-Sophie in and took charge of that and led the first policy we had on that globally. Now, before colleagues not did what they wanted to do, but it was very remote, decentralized. Yeah. And all of a sudden there was a central decision, communicated across the board. There were some who had never worked from home before, China, all of a sudden, please work from home. And then there were countries that have worked home all the time who all of a sudden had to come to the office again. So, and we're still going through that transition. And of course, that's creating a dialogue internally as to what does that mean and why, etc.
Exactly. I think there's a new emergence of a dialogue between employees and maybe the leadership team, which we should look at it as a healthy mode. Because when there's no communication, people just quit when they're unhappy. Now there's an opportunity to find ways to like understand different points and understand, okay, what makes sense for us. At this time also, things evolve. So at this time, this is what we think is best. Maybe it's going to change in the future. So having that dialogue create a healthy bond with employees and leadership team. And there's something unique about the Lego group, which I would love to hear from you, is how do you use the play mode in this dialogue?
That's a very unique thing for us and something that's very important. I think for us, one of the things that is the foundation of our direction is really bringing together a focus of the needs of the individual, the needs of the team, and the needs of the organization. So when we communicate on our initiatives, we also want to ensure that we help everyone out to keep that perspective in mind. So when we speak about work, we can speak about the needs of the individual, but we are also, all of us, accountable for creating the culture that we have in this organization, which is also why we want people to come in, and we don't have a fully remote setup. We have the hybrid because it provides flexibility, but we want people to come in to engage. So the link to play here is, of course, we can do digital play experiences for sure, but we do also see that one of the opportunities that are just so much more present is having play placed around the space, creating and facilitating those situations for colleagues when they're in. Now you can see over here we have, for instance, our play kits standing because we know meetings can just take a different level of energy when we add that in. However, for us, adding play is not just because of entertainment and because it can provide something that makes us laugh. That means a lot, but it's also a way for us to socialize together in a different way and to collaborate differently. So it underlines relationship building and learning.
And we have a different personas, play agents, for example. In my leadership team, I'm the play agent. Okay. So, for example, next week we have a 3-day meeting, and I'm responsible for putting in what we call play boosters. So once a day there will be a 15-minute, not window, but time to play. So I'm responsible for bringing in some kind of fun activity that exactly, not just for having fun for the sake of having fun, but also team building, getting close to each other, because these are people that don't sit with each other on a day-to-day basis, and we're lucky if we see each other 3-4 times a year. So it's a good chance to really engage with each other and get to know each other as well in a much different way. It's more intimate instead of the virtual world, and play just bridges that in such a wonderful way.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone could ignore that when you enter the building, the campus, right away there's a big smile, you see Legos everywhere. If you have kids or if you were a fan of Lego when you were a kid, suddenly you feel part of like a big castle of playhouse. And even the little rooms you showed me as we were working around were all fostering that idea of playfulness. There's a lot of like activities around. There's the play kit in the room. You told me we could write on this wall. So as people really own that space for themselves, we are going to see that playfulness even more so. Already today was big for me seeing that. And what I find it very, very amazing for the Lego group being at the forefront of that conversation is that now other organizations are starting to understand that they need to add play inside their culture. This is why people bring teams on an offsite so they can have informal time to bond, to share, to play together before they work, because we're starting to see, and probably in social studies, that's something that is more studied, but the fact that when we have an interpersonal relationship, we work better together. Is it part of the lesson of playing together at Lego, at the Lego group?
Definitely. I think for us, you could maybe even look at it as a scale. Sometimes it's an energizer, it's a spark. But if you add it consistently, you can actually see that it brings people together. I can share an example from our sub-team. We have every Wednesday, we have a team anchor day. We know, because we work in the hybrid, then we know on Wednesdays we're all in, so we can have lunch together. We have what we've added as an energizer. So we take turns on facilitating a play experience. It takes 5 minutes, but it's something that brings us together, and you take turns on adding that element in. And as a team, it makes a lot of a difference. It's similar to what Kent is describing.
Yeah. And you said there's a scale. There's energizer, maybe there's an icebreaker, there's like different scale of what it can bring as an outcome.
Yes, so we have a team that we collaborate closely with, called the Employee Play Engagement Team. So they have a full focus on play. They collaborate with our foundation as well, who are doing research on the learning through play.
And it's also a way for us as Lego Group employees to get closer to the products. So next week, and I think I can say that it's a surprise next week, of course, the play boosters are like surprise. So some of it will be recognized by the team gonna go through it, but other things like we're gonna drive electrical cars next week. So we have a few electrical cars that you can control via remote, so there will be a competition as to drive that car. We've done that as a team as well, but I'll be doing that with the leadership team, so that there will be small competition, getting close to the products that we have and get it in our hands and know what the consumers and customers are actually looking for or using.
The same way that we had to redefine what work is. Work means so many different things: individual work, focus work, teamwork, innovative work, creative work. Play is also the same. Like we know that at times we reject play, but there's so many different modes of playing. Like an icebreaker is a play, but can be more approachable to some people who think like they don't want to play with toys. It's not just about toys.
Yeah.
Or when you see adults in any kind of competition, we have a standard one where you build a high tower. So like just build Duplo bricks typically, or it could be smaller bricks as well. There's so many different combinations that you can put them together that it's only your imagination that sets the frame for what you do and don't do. But seeing adults go amok in that, and you see that outside the Lego Group as well. The Lego bricks are used in all kinds of team building and team workshops to foster the creative thinking or collaboration and just getting projects moving on. It's quite amazing to see how that's being used creatively.
Yeah, and that's definitely what I felt when I entered the building. I couldn't name it, but you said it. Imagination. You enter the building and you feel the space to let your imagination go, and you have the tools around to let that creative flow go. And I think that's where I find that you did an amazing job to align the space, the walls, the product, and the team, the people who enter that building.
That's amazing to hear. I think for us, it is very important that this isn't just a beautiful space, but when you enter, you can feel that you're at the Lego Group. It's not just any other organization. And I think that is where culture and space intersect, because you can get beautiful space created if you work with the right people. But having that element of the atmosphere and the culture, you need something else. You need the experiences, and you need the people to engage with the surroundings to really show that.
Exactly. Thank you so much both for having me. I feel so lucky to be here.